Hello and welcome to Canutillo Combos, the official Canutillo ISD podcast. We are here. It's Friday, and we're ready to get the weekend started. And Doc, like always, our fearless leaders with us, Dr. Pedro Galaviz, Superintendent of Schools.
Just had graduation.
We just had graduation.
Canutillo High School. How many do we have?
374 students.
374 babies ready to attack the world.
Yeah, we had graduation on Wednesday at the Don Haskins. It was a great ceremony, and it's, Doc, I call that the most important day of the year for us, for anyone working in education. Graduation is the day we should all look forward to, because it's the day that we're all working for, whether we're bus drivers, custodians, teachers, anyone in the school district. We all work towards one goal, and that is graduation.
To get those kids to walk
Yeah.
across that stage and give them their diploma and go off and tackle the world.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the world is ready for those 374.
Ready or not, here they go.
Here they come. Let's go. Just make sure you pay your taxes and vote.
Great. But we're here to talk about something else. We have our special guest, Canutillo ISD Executive Director of Facilities and Transportation, Bruno Vasquez. Welcome, Bruno.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Bruno's a black belt in Taekwondo.
I used to be.
I learned
You are.
In another life.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I called him a Renaissance man yesterday, because he plays the piano too. So he's an architect. He plays the piano. He's, don't you mountain bike or you?
Yes.
And he does salsa.
And
he does salsa.
And I dance.
He is a man of the world, man about town. That's what we call it, man about town. But another one of his areas of expertise is asbestos, and we're dealing with a little bit of a scare of an asbestos exposure, which turned out to be non-founded. But Doc, there was some reports that asbestos may have been altered or exposed at Canutillo Middle School in two rooms there. We were proactive and reacted real quick to that concern, and thankfully now with a couple of days behind us, we're able to tell the community that those rooms did not contain asbestos. We're happy about that, because means that everyone there can proceed and continue providing educational services, and B, we don't have to incur the cost of having to remove any asbestos from those rooms, because none exists.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. Yes. So just this morning, as I was finishing a conversation that we had at the campus with the leadership and with the staff, I took some time to walk with some of the teachers and coaches, walk some of the rooms to just get a better idea of some of the issues that they face with their facilities. And as I was doing that, I got a notification from our hazardous materials consultant that they found the document that shows that asbestos was abated before in those rooms.
So abated means what?
Abatement means removal and disposal of the material.
So there's no asbestos in those rooms.
Not in those rooms, in that surface that was exposed. And it's important for everybody to know the very strict protocols that the district follows when something like that is even suspected of being a risk. So the whole story of this incident began when I became aware of a number of carpet tiles that were peeling off the surface of the floor. And so I immediately called the consultant that the district has under contract to find out and tell me, hey, do we have any asbestos in this surface? And when we don't know for sure if we have asbestos or not, we treat it as suspect. We unless we know for sure that we don't have asbestos, then we treat it as if it had asbestos.
Right.
And so my reaction was immediately to bring in the consultant to find out if there was any evidence of any, and I'm going to be using a lot of technical terms.
Right.
So ask me if you need me to expand. But
What does expand mean?
expand, it means asking me what time it is, and I'll tell you the story of time. I'll tell you the history
Which is a
of
very
time.
architect kind of way of.
Oh my God! Don't get me started with that. So, anyways, so one of the main concerns that we have with asbestos is a mineral, and it's a mineral that it occurs in nature. It's a series of fibers. When those fibers break apart and get released, that's when it becomes dangerous. And I'll just say it. There are several surfaces within our district buildings that contain asbestos materials. Asbestos is not just one single thing. Asbestos in the construction industry was used for many purposes. It was a great material to work with. It's a great insulator. It's very strong because of its fibrous nature. It's a very strong adhesive. But over a number of decades ago, people in the medical profession began realizing that there was a new kind of cancerous disease in construction workers that used to work in demolition of buildings. What they realized is that the fibers that those contractors were demolishing as they were floating in the air in high concentrations for extended periods of time, some of those fibers went into the lungs of some of those workers. After many years of that kind of exposure, some of those workers began developing a new kind of cancerous disease.
Right.
And that's when the federal government and the state governments realized, well, wait a minute, we have a problem with this material.
So could you say basically, and this is for me, if it's an old building, it was probably before the research regarding connecting asbestos to cancer.
Yes.
But now in our new facilities that are being built, they're more cognizant, right, that asbestos is not being used in our new facilities today.
Yes, that is correct. In new construction, at the end of the construction, both the architect of record provides a letter to the owner stating that, to the best of his knowledge, in the preparation of his plans and specifications, there was no material that had asbestos specified or designed to be used in that facility. That's one document that the owners received.
If we would have passed the bond, CMS would have got a new, basically brand new building, and we wouldn't be having to worry about.
We would have to remove the asbestos from that facility and tearing it down, but we would have done it in a safe way, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so, and the contractor also provides a letter to the owner stating that, you know, to the best of his knowledge, no asbestos-containing material was used in the construction of that project.
Yeah.
So newer buildings, yes, absolutely. The most recent building that we designed and constructed for the district was the restroom and concession building at Canutillo High School for the baseball. We have the documents that, you know, the architect and the contractor gave us stating we feel 100% confident that there's no asbestos in those rooms.
And Bruno, I wanna kind of ease concerns that a parent might have if they're listening to this, because a lot of our schools are older and they were built before these standards were in place. And while some of these campuses may actually have asbestos material that has asbestos in it, it does not mean that it's dangerous. It does not mean that it's hazardous to just be there.
Yes.
Asbestos, in order for it to be dangerous and hazardous to our health, has to be exposed and meddled with.
And the fibers, there's a technical term for it.
Yeah.
They become friable, meaning they become loose and they float in the air.
And it has to be prolonged exposure as well.
Yes. However, this is where our protocols dictate that I don't wait more than an hour to start taking action.
Yeah.
as soon as we find out that a situation like this occurs, I have a protocol in place that, that is one of the reasons why we have a already auto-renewed contract with a vendor that provides us with those kinds of services.
Yeah. And Doc, I think that's important for us to let parents know that we have our custodians that are trained to notify our facilities department whenever something happens that might trigger an exposure or a fear of an exposure. And even though the risk remains still relatively low, we have a plan of action. We have a way of reacting to this to make sure that students and staff and visitors to our schools don't have any prolonged exposure to it.
I think it's the law.
It is.
It's the law. So our plan of action is following the law.
Right.
We take every, as Bruno was saying, everything is as kind of like a fire drill,
Right.
And I'm just trying to relate it to if you smell smoke, right? You put the fire alarm and everybody evacuates. And that's why something happened, the tile was removed, our carpet, and the janitors knew what to do, custodians knew what to do, our maintenance people knew what to do, Bruno knew what to do, and then our consultant comes in and says, hey, well, you don't got asbestos.
Right.
You're good. We have a document that certified, their license, everybody's on the line because we're all going to be held liable.
Yes, and that is what you just said, Dr. Galaviz. It's true and accurate. We follow a lot of rules and regulations that are dictated by the state of Texas. A number of years ago, we had an audit on all of our campuses because one of the processes in this protocol is to evaluate all of the areas in the district for any additional damage that may have exposed any surfaces that may contain asbestos. We do that every 6 months. That's by law. So every 6 months, we bring in these group of consultants and they do visual inspections. They take notice of areas that may have been, for whatever reason, a piece of tile broke off, a piece of carpet was unglued, things like that. And so we do it, we follow the law, but I do it because it's the right thing to do. The motto that, if you ever pay attention to the lanyards that my staff wears, it reads, do the right thing for the right reason. When people ask me, hey, how many kids do you have? My answer is, at last count, it's about 5,980 something.
Yeah.
So because the burden of responsibility for the facilities department and transportation as well is dealing with the life, health, safety of students, parents, teachers, any visitor that goes into our campus. It's a very heavy burden to carry, and so we do it because it's the right thing to do. We follow the law, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, that's always been something, as someone that deals with parents in emergency situations and answering questions related to that. I've always said, parents, we do our best to make sure that our campuses are safe and secure, right?
Also, parents, teachers and staff. Teachers, because teachers are there in their classroom,
right.
and they're kids are gone.
Yeah, so. Well, kids are gone right now, but my message to them has always been like, listen, there is no way that we as school administrators wouldn't react in a way that is decisive if we felt that anyone was in imminent danger. If we knew a campus, a school was in imminent danger, whether because of asbestos or a shooter or anything, we would not hesitate to close down quickly and take action.
Not only close down, but come out and tell everybody.
Yes.
None of this is about me or you or let's hide a secret. Yeah. Let's not get the asbestos police here. Yeah. No, you're dealing with staff, kids, teachers, safety and health. I mean, we're all an open book, and we want to be proactive. And so, I think when we opened about graduation, right? what Bruno said was like his peeps, his department is to make sure that, again, that those kids walk across that stage.
Yeah.
That are healthy, that are ready to go, and we're not gonna stop. We're all gonna work together as a team, and that's what we're about.
Well, we're happy to know that these classrooms are safe and ready to be used again. I know one of them's a music classroom, so that teacher was a little concerned about how long it'll take. So we're happy to tell Mr.
No asbestos.
that
Well, let me sing it. No asbestos.
In that room.
In that room. In that
Let me
room.
play
So-
the bongos.
Yeah,
No.
but I just also wanted to mention that you said, Gustavo, a few minutes ago how there's there remains asbestos in other areas of the campuses,
Yeah.
and that is true. We have three main strategies to deal with asbestos. We much like with pest control, we can't rid of all of the pests, so we manage. We have strategies to manage. The first one, of course, would be to build without bringing any asbestos. That would be one strategy. The other strategy is to abate, remove the asbestos, get it out of the way. And by the way, there's a very strict protocol that the contractors follow with the chain of custody for those materials. Everything is documented and everything is subject to state audits. But anyways, that's the second option. The third option, and this is what a lot of entities such as ourselves with limited resources and limited means we do, and that is encapsulated. Because if the asbestos fibers, remember, asbestos is not just a single thing. If the asbestos fibers remain embedded, encapsulated, enclosed within another layer of material, then it's not dangerous.
It's not exposed.
Because it's not readily exposed to
Yeah.
people. It's still dangerous if it becomes loose
Right.
and it becomes friable. But as long as we have it encapsulated, my position from my department is always to try to abate. But sometimes time or resources are unavailable, and so we encapsulate it. And that's one of the reasons why I could give examples at other campuses where we haven't done some work.
And Bruno, you mentioned resources, and of course, this is a very costly process. Abatement of asbestos is very expensive. We do and even testing for it to make sure you told teachers today that there's no way we can test every inch of the campus because that will be prohibitive. It will be costly, and we don't have the resources for that. And Doc, I hope you don't mind me saying, but we're facing some economic times here in the district, even to where we're going to have to make some difficult decisions regarding their budget. Because we are spending money from our general fund, our local dollars, in things that could have been paid for using bond money.
Oh, not only bond money, but salary too. Our governor still, our legislators, our senators of the House of Tech still haven't moved on teacher salary or haven't done anything.
Yeah, and that's why it's very important for my department also to prioritize the projects that we're facing, that we're dealing with.
Right.
Because I have a priority list that is, from 1 to 4. First and foremost, it's always going to be health, safety, and welfare. And so it doesn't matter the amount of money that we need to fix something that deals with that, we're going to do it above everything else. The second one is educational adequacy, because if the teachers can't teach because the lights are not on, then we're not doing what we're supposed to do. The third thing has to do with administrative requests, and at the bottom of the list is anything that has to do with aesthetics. I'm an architect by trade. I would love to have the award-winning designs and beautiful surfaces and finishes, but I know that my first thing that I have to take care of is health, safety, and welfare.
Right.
So I had an opportunity to have a conversation with several teachers at CMS. They were telling me, my room needs a new coat of paint, and they need, there's some stains on the ceilings because of old leaks. which we found and we fixed, and but the stains are still there. And I said, well, now that we've been able to, I keep making this analogy of building like a quilt with so many patches on our roofs. Now we may be able to use some of the resources in replacing some of those stained tiles, because it definitely affects the learning environment. It's, if you go to a classroom that's nice and clean and looks bright, it's much better than if you go to a
and that goes to that thing, when we would encounter a lot of opponents to the bond saying, like, facilities don't matter. Facilities do matter. They do matter in learning. Can students learn in a shack? Of course they can. Should they? No. And will they learn effectively and as much and as efficiently as they could? No, they won't.
Especially with the new paradigms in educational, where it's not a square box where you go sit facing the front of the room, and a teacher that is just lecturing, which is one of the methodologies. But now there are so many different ways. Our lives are changing faster than we can react to. And so it definitely matters. Think about it this way. You spend more than 98% of your life inside the built environment. The place that somebody designed and somebody built, and that somebody maintains, hopefully. And so that is our mission. The mission of this department is to do as much as we can with whatever resources we have.
So for today at CMS, in those rooms, no asbestos.
There is no asbestos. There is no risk whatsoever. So much so that on Monday morning, now we can continue with the work order to remove the carpet tile. We're going to get quotes from a contractor to see if we can do another type of finish. Because even if we were to replace those carpet tiles, carpet is really not the best surface for classrooms anymore. It creates allergies, and I'll say something else. Asbestos is only one of the various hazardous materials that the district deals with. The other one being mold, the other one being pests, the other one being lead and paint, and so it's an ongoing battle. I wish I had another a dedicated individual in my department to be able to deal with hazardous materials and with pest controls.
I wish we would have passed the bond.
Yeah,
there you go.
I wish we would have passed the bond.
We would be dealing with the issue of replacing that school with everything new and bright.
And I'll say something else. If about a brand new building is brand new the day that you do the ribbon cutting ceremony.
After that, it starts to
After that, everything needs constant maintenance.
Yes.
Think about your car. Think about your
body.
Your own body. Yeah.
Right. My wife calls me viejo. She says I lack aesthetics.
Well, that's the last thing on the list of priorities.
That should be the last of your priorities. Yes, sir.
Well, Bruno, thanks for coming and updating the community. And again, our schools are safe. This it's a priority for us. So rest easy and
we'll dancing, do some taekwondo, do some piano man, do some bicycling.
Sometimes I do everything at the same time.
a one-man band. Okay.
What did you call it? What's his nickname?
Man About Town.
Man About Town.
Man? Or a Renaissance man.
Renaissance
I think I like that one better.
Renaissance man?
Man of Vitruvio. That's me.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week here in Canutillo Combos.
All right. Take care. God bless. Stay healthy and happy.